please pick up the new program at the desks outside. Sustainability, most of you have heard of the idea of sustainability being a wicked problem. I like the idea of wicked problem. I found something even more interesting. It can also be referred to as a mess. What's a mess? According to Robert Warren, 2007, no unique or correct view of the problem sets, different views of the problem and contradictory solutions. Most problems are connected to other problems. Data are often uncertain or missing. Multiple value conflicts, ideological and cultural constraints, political constraints, economic constraints, often illogical or multi-valued thinking, numerous possible intervention points, consequences difficult to imagine, considerable uncertainty or ambiguity, great resistance to change, and problem solvers out of contact with the problems and potential solutions. So I like to think of sustainability and the problems associated with as in Robert Warren's concept of a mess. We try to address that in this conference in a different ways. First of all, of course, we accepted, of course, monodisciplinary research will not go away. This is and will continue to be very important, but we're particularly sensitive to cross-transdisciplinary research. We also tried to include not just academia, but we've invited representatives of government, NGOs, NPOs, and of course, the business is becoming more and more important to include in academic-related research on sustainability. We try to include all continents, and I'm very, very pleased that so many people came from so far away, anywhere from South Africa, China, and many, many other countries that are very far away. But that was a particular aim of mine. And of course, to include junior and senior researchers, so not to just have the usual suspects who travel in academic tourism around the world to give their speeches, but also to be more inclusive, to include more junior people. And I hope that this will also, the more senior academics here in this room will interact with the more junior people or people from very, very far away, either disciplinary, culturally, or regionally, to interact with them, because hopefully such a conference is not just here to present your work, but also to create research networks. The last thing that I want to do before I hand over to Ed Constable is to introduce to you the Sustainability Prize. The Sustainability Prize will be awarded in January 2017 at the next World Sustainability Forum in Cape Town, South Africa. This is a prize, it's an annual prize. It's currently, we have $100,000 US that will be awarded to an individual or an organization that makes a significant contribution towards sustainability. This prize is supported by the Vice-Rectorate of the University of Basel, Vice-Rectorate of Research at Constable. Thank you very much. It's supported by the journal Sustainability, and I would very much like to take this opportunity to thank both the University of Basel and NDPI and the collaborators for the tremendous work that they've actually done on this. So, Ed, it's your turn.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues. As Max just said, my name's Ed Constable, and I'm here in my function as Vice-Rector of the University, but also as a scientist actively involved in research into sustainable technologies. It's my pleasure and my honour, on behalf of the University of Basel, to welcome you on the 5th World Sustainability Forum to our city. The themes of the conference are, of course, close to my heart and match well with the aspirations and the achievements of our university. We are the oldest university in Switzerland, and that's equipped us with a vast experience of the needs to address actual problems rather than to dwell on past glories. Putting it another way, if there's a mistake to make, we've already made it, and hopefully we've learned from it. In our last strategic review, we identified sustainability and energy as one of the 5 focal areas of the university, and are currently strengthening our portfolio and coordinating the diverse activities in this field distributed across social sciences, humanities, economy, law, and the natural sciences. An equation that is very difficult to fulfill and a circle that is very difficult to square, but I will say a little bit about that later. I note with great pleasure that the conference has attracted excellent speakers, including Jeffrey Sachs, who I at least benefit from the change in the programme, and that I may be able to attend his keynote this evening. Mark Rosen, my old friend Aldo Strobel, and also my local colleague Klaus Leisinger. The theme of the conference is sustainability, and it's one of those topics which is so broad that it is genuinely all things to all men. And the content of this conference emphasises this fact with streams on topics ranging from urbanisation, policy planning, through environmental aspects to management of social and economic consequences. And this is part of the attraction but also the challenge of this area. Now, I promised Max that I would only praise the efforts of the organisers and the participants, and I do that with pleasure. But I cannot resist bringing a tiny hint of concern. The brief of the conference is very broad, and science and technology are a part of the solution as well as social engineering and economic management. We need to work together to ensure that the various communities can have a genuine meeting of minds and dialogue. This is not a criticism of your community so much as one of mine. The scientists and the technologists have a tendency to live in an isolated community, and this needs to change. I think we're all aware that we need innovation in technology to parallel other activities. But, and this is a very big but innovative technology without societal acceptance is meaningless. Societal acceptance of technology without realistic deployment is meaningless. And the deployment of technologies which are themselves not sustainable is something of an own goal. The highest tech solutions are not always the best solutions. We need to develop emerging and sustainable technologies for both emerging and developed societies. Now, Max asked me to say a little about my own work this morning, and I don't know if he was just being polite, but he should know better than to ask an academic to stand in front of an audience and talk. So, I've been involved in research into sustainable technologies almost my entire career. I guess from my first exposure to the book Silent Spring at some point in the 1960s, through to just before my university career when I read Limits to Growth, and then from very early on in my doctorate I started working on technologies for harvesting solar energy, and since then this has been a theme throughout our entire research. And that of course brings me to the dilemma. I rather suspect that at 8:45 on a Monday morning you don't really want to hear anything about hardcore semiconductor physics or about chemical synthesis. So what can I do? What I want, just very briefly, and I'll try to do it with pictures, is to say something about the philosophy of our work and to show that it is possible to bridge this gap between science and technology and society and economics and law. And having said that, let's see if the technology works. What I want to do is to tell you a problem, and this is a slide which probably most people in the audience will recognise from some point in their careers. I think I actually stole it from Jeff Sachs. This is a frightening slide. It shows the projected trends in energy usage over the next 20 to 30 years. And the only thing that we need to take from this is simply the increase in usage of resources. I'm going to take the risk of offending any Americans in the audience now. Please don't take it personally or as a political statement, but I am very, very rarely shocked these days. And I was shocked this morning when I read a comment from a leading politician in the United States saying that God gave resources to our country to use as we wish. And this person wished to be in charge of the Department of Energy under a future Trump administration. I find that concerning, but that was an aside. So this is the problem. This is also a problem. How can we address these projections without all of the downstream consequences of the technology associated with using precious resources? And this is the dream. And this is where I think the science and technology meet the society. This is actually the only limitless, within a few billion years, free resource that our world has. In hardcore physical terms, our world is a closed system. What we have in it is what we have. A little bit of cosmic dust falling on us, a little bit of helium leaking out, but basically it is what we have, and this is the only input that we have to this system. Light energy falling on the Earth. And so, really, throughout my career, I have had this dream of an intelligent leaf, an artificial leaf, which we can use to harvest this light and then take it out into all of the energy needs that we have, whether it's lighting, whether it's stored electrical energy, whether it's liquid fuel for the automobile that we all love and have to have. And again, this is this transdisciplinary approach. Our approach, refined over many years, is to say, let's learn from biology. Biology is actually quite good, not very efficient, but quite good, at converting light to stored energy. But it's not quick. If you're prepared to wait a few 100 million years, light is quite efficiently converted into fossil fuels. Biology is not good at converting light to fossil fuel today or tomorrow. So we want to learn from biology, and the thing that we learn from biology is biology works by organising things at interfaces between liquids and solids and membranes, and that's been at the basis of all of our work for years. Please don't worry about this slide. All it says is that about 50% of our work at the moment is concerned with solar energy harvesting, and I've just got, all you need to take from this slide is a statistic here. You don't even need to know what the numbers are. But the total energy consumption in 2012 was 104,000 terawatt hours. You don't need to know what a terawatt hour is, except it's very big. And 100,000 of them is a lot of very big. The sunlight falling on the surface of the Earth is approximately 1 billion terawatt hours. Very big and bigger than the demand that we have. So the energy source that we need is actually there, and all we need to do is to find the technology to harvest this in an efficient way and to convert it into energy forms that we can use. So the dream is to go from this big chemical plant, ugly, to something inspired by biology. And now I come to another of my comments, that technological innovation without sustainability is useless. And the technology emphasis in solar energy in the last few years has actually been very high-tech and has concentrated upon using elements like ruthenium. The state-of-the-art for dye-sensitized solar cells is a ruthenium compound. Ruthenium is down here in the rarest metals in the world. We should be using the abundant elements here if we're talking about sustainable technologies. So, of course, we have economists in the audience. There's an economic argument why you should move maybe from ruthenium to copper. Here's my bloated plutocrat. But the real reason is a sustainability one, that there isn't much ruthenium around, and so we should go for more abundant elements. Okay, I promised I wouldn't talk about chemistry, simply to say that we pioneered the use of sustainable metals in dye-sensitized solar cells. This is ongoing research, and that we have functional copper systems which are close now to commercial deployment. Come back to the dream. Let's bring it into something within your own homes. This is my dream. An intelligent leaf, but the intelligent leaf has transformed itself in the way that things do in a fairy tale into an intelligent curtain. A curtain that during the daytime absorbs light, stores it in an energy form, and then at night time it can be given out as light. And don't underestimate the importance of light in society. Looking at us all here today, how does our life differ from that of our great-great-great-grandparents? It's very simple. We don't stop when the sun goes down.